Well, hello everybody. John Crook, Communications and Cigars. That is correct. Communications and Cigars. We are back. We are live once again. Kind of, well, as the title says, folks, the last episode of Communications and Cigars. Yep. This will be the last episode of Communications and Cigars for season 2. That's right, for season 2, we are, this will be our last one on there. I didn't want to scare anybody. I got to do some sort of clickbait here and stuff like that on there. But you know what? We kind of talked about it a little bit here, but this is the last episode. Now, why is it the last episode of season 2? Well, guess what? The reason it's the last episode of season 2 is because we will, in 2 weeks, be back live again. And that will be the 3rd year anniversary where we started the show, Communications and Cigars, from, as we called it, Studio O, which was outside. But now we are back, and we are live. We haven't been live for a while. We did a couple impromptus. We've been really busy and stuff like that, but we wanted to come back and kind of just say some interesting things. Kind of on there. So that's where we're at. So welcome to this live edition of Communications and Cigars. I do hope that everybody enjoys it. We've been busy. I mean, I've always said we've been busy, but we've been extremely busy this year, and I don't know why we've been more busy. I think partially is because we're finally getting back to life as it is normal. But welcome to our channel. And what is our channel about? Our channel about is Communications and Cigars, where we talk about communications. We touch on the subject of cigars because, let me tell you, there's nothing better, in my opinion, than going ahead and saying, what's a great way to talk about communications and have fun is to have a cigar, enjoy it around there. So we are back. We are for a live episode. We didn't schedule it. I know people like to see the episode scheduled in advance. We're going to get that in season 3. People have said, well, where have you been with season 2? And I blame it on the writer's strike. The writer's strike went along and made it so that we couldn't do shows. Is that good enough as an answer? I don't know. Anyways, welcome to the show, though. I've been busy. I've been traveling. The multiple hats I wear and everything like that. So it has really been a busy summer. I'm glad that it has been a busy summer. So I'm kind of happy about that, because if you weren't busy, then you're not busy, and then not busy is not being good. So with that, welcome to this episode on there. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and get the things out there. So first of all, Communications Cigars is brought to you by our sponsor, which is JJK Communications. JJK Communications likes and has the ability to have all this fun camera equipment and everything like that, and was going ahead and helping be a sponsor for what we're going to be doing in a couple of weeks on there. So thank you to JJK Communications. It's very greatly appreciated on there. But before that, people say, hey, how can I get in contact with you? I want to talk to you about the show, want to see if you're okay, that kind of thing like that. How can I get a hold of you, John? Well, as always, you can go ahead and email us, Communications and Cigars. So communications-cigars at jjkcom.com. Once again, communications-cigars at jjkcom.com. Once again, JJK Communications is our sponsor on there. So before we get into the show, let's do our talk about cigars. So one of the biggest things I find out about cigars is the ability to go ahead and travel with cigars. And I brought this subject up before, but it was really kind of particularly of importance over the last couple of weeks when I had to do some traveling and stuff. And one of the biggest things I find out about traveling and stuff is that, guess what? You need to go ahead and prepare and prep for traveling. You could really ruin some cigars if you do not have them properly traveled. And the other thing about it too is with this day and age, it's really kind of difficult sometimes to travel with cigars. Not so much as like hey, I have a cigar, what can I do, where can I go, and stuff like that, but more so of the mindset of saying, how can I go ahead and travel with them? Because when am I going to have a chance to A, smoke them, or B, more importantly, is there a place to smoke them? Now, some of the hotels and motels and stuff that I stay at and stuff like that, very nice. They do have an area that is considered, quote unquote, a smoker's lounge, or an area where you can smoke. more people, and it has been proven statistically, are more apt to, if you went along and you ranked them in file, what is the most palatable or most manageable type of smoke that's out there. And a lot of people say, hands down, it is the pipe tobacco smoke. And pipe tobacco usually is rich and flavorful and has a very good odor to it. Second, and close second, is actually cigars. Many cigars are on there, and you know, when people were kind of asked, kind of like, why are more cigars like more palatable? A lot of people said pipes and cigars actually bring them back to like the days of like grandpa or papa or papa or however you refer to there, you know, sitting around, you know, outside doing those kind of things, fishing, those kind of things like that on there, whatever. And I gotta admit that it kind of does that for me on there. But digressing back to the point, if you bring a nice long big cigar, good flavorful cigar, stuff like that, you really want to sit down and you want to enjoy it. You don't want to have to quickly smoke it, because one, if you smoke too much too fast, you can really get sick. Okay, I've been there, done that. It's not a pleasurable thing. The other thing about it is too is that if you don't have time, or a lot of people are there or something, you're going to be more apt just to feel rushed and hurried. That's why I tend to go ahead and get little cigarros or like petite cigars. Very easy to travel. They're in a tin. They usually go ahead and come wrapped nicely in a tin of some sort. So you actually have the tin itself, but then they'll be plastic sealed on there. They will have a little moisture packet on there that helps keep it at that 70% on there. So that's kind of a nice thing about it on there. I do also want to, before we go any further, I do have some friends on there. I do want to point out particularly, I want to thank my best friend, one of my partners in the EMS world and stuff like that. SK, I'll give you SK. I won't say your name or anything like that. Thank you very much for the pleasurable cigar. SK found out that there is a new Deadwood Tobacco Company cigar out there. I have not had a chance to sit down and enjoy it yet, and here's why. Because I don't want to waste it. I want to sit down where it's a day I have off, something I can sit and enjoy that cigar. If it takes me an hour to smoke it, it takes me an hour to smoke it, and stuff like that on there. So that's there a little bit about cigars. So let's talk about communications. But before that, even though there's it kind of was an impromptu thing, I see one person to share. Lon, thank you for jumping in there, Lon. Always good to see you, Lon. Lon's one of those good guys on there. The minute he gets a notification that my channel's there, he hops in right away on there. But let's get back to it, being that this is the last episode, once again, of season 2. I had to do clickbait, right? I had to do clickbait. I don't do those weird things where, you know, like, hey, you know, that kind of thing like that. So I had to do some sort of clickbait to get you in there. But more importantly, I wanted to go ahead and talk about something that we're going to do as anniversary. So if last year, if you remember, for our anniversary, we gave out shirts. And one of the shirts that we gave out was this one here. I'm not going to take my shirt off for everybody, but it was your official PPOTA, Porta Potties on the Air. And I will tell you, I cannot begin to tell you how walking around the Huntsville Hamfest, I got some looks. Most of the people understand, you know, this is fun. You know, hey, people like Papoda, or Poda, I should say. But Papoda started with, and once again, started here, folks. Someone tried to hone in and saying Papoda thing, and it's like someone, I don't know if I would call them my CCRs or whatever, but they went along and like, no, John Crook invented that and stuff like that on there. So Papoda. Now I gave gave a shirt away. So you had your choice last year. The winners could either go ahead and they could receive a Communications Cigar shirt, or they could go ahead and receive a Papoda, Porta Potties on the Air. And I do have to thank all my friends that are on Facebook and social media for me. Some great stuff. Like there was a picture someone just sent me recently of a porta potty that was on like, someone put like the outside shell of it on top of like a go-kart. It was hilarious. So it was kind of funny on there. So also too is I got to move all my stuff out of the way. And then John, good evening. I see you in there too. But there was people that did that. So we had to do something. We had to come up with something, because you got to give something away. Now, I'm not going to give a radio away. I'm not going to give something there, but it's got to be something fun and kitschy. Okay, that's really what it is. It's got to be something fun and kitschy. I've done this kind of as fun, but kind of as an educational standpoint on there, and we have fun while doing it and stuff like that on there. But I wanted to give something away, and I will go ahead and tell you quick there. That's the preview of it, right? And here's what it is. We'll tell you after or towards the end of the episode. Yes, you got to watch the episode. I'm going to do the Ryan Seacrest thing on you, but it will be a worthwhile episode for you here real quick, and then we'll get into it, and you'll see why we're going to hold on to it till the end of the episode. So with it, even though the last episode, as we said, of season 2, because of the writer's strike, one thing I like to do this time of year, and that's kind of what we're going to chat about briefly here tonight, is getting your radios ready for the fall winter season. Alrighty, this is a big thing that I can't stress enough. I can't harp enough. I mean, I just want to beat it into people's heads because it is so critical and so important on things going on. So I usually do this 2 times a year. I do it in the spring, kind of usually around March. Okay. Maybe sometimes I push it back into February because I do try to help out with some events in February. But really at the beginning of this year, I kind of take a look at how things are and getting all this stuff together. Now, what do I mean? Well, let's face it. Where I live in Northwest Wisconsin, it's a situation where we can have some very harsh weather, good and bad, summertime and fall time, or I should say summer and winter, spring and fall, all that kind of thing like that on there. But one thing people neglect is you are going to impair the performance. You are going to cause issues with your radios if you don't take care of them. And I attribute this example to like a car, right? If you're driving your car, do you change the oil? Well, yeah, duh, right? Okay. Even if it has a 710 stick instead of a oil stick, if everybody gets that, I'm glad. You know, you take the oil stick, you turn it upside down, it says 710. Anyways, I had a supervisor I worked with at the sheriff's department, and she blew out her. Anyways, long story short, we won't bring that up. But anyways, we joked around. She only had the 710 stick. Anyways, but like a car that has tires, belts, brakes, hoses, oil changes, everything like that, it really does come down to that same thing when it deals with radios. And more importantly, a lot of things that these radios need to be worried about in this day and age. These are no longer brick and mortar radios, right? And when I say brick and mortar, I said like, you know, crystal controlled, huge radios that you could take like I remember watching episodes of NYPD Blue, Andy Sipowicz, bam, 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 hit on the door with the saber, right? Yeah, radios aren't like that anymore. They're computers in essence. They are computers in every way, shape, or form. And I have some radios here along with my scanner that is quite important to go ahead and be able to say, okay, wait a minute, let's think about this, because there is a situation that you need to go ahead and be aware of. So like any other car, you have stuff on here. Now this is my E.F. Johnson VP8000. I love it. Multi-band, multi-mode on there. But some of the things just to point out, like antennas, wear and tear items, right? Your batteries, okay? Your batteries are wear and tear items too. You have belt clips. You have the cases, which are wear and tear items. You have knobs, which are wear and tear items. You have things in the radio externally that could be wear and tear items, okay? Like dust covers. If you're not using, a radio accessory jack, speaker, microphone, all that kind of stuff like that, or like this is a program cable, also jack for it, cover them things up. But these are wear and tear items, alrighty? So think of that on there. You bend the antenna, you break the antenna. Now, the worst part about it on these things is that, think about it this way. I'm going to go ahead and show you this. This is a multi-band antenna. I don't think does it say on there? No, it really doesn't. No, it doesn't. But this is, I don't know if you could really see in there with the Kenwood thing on there. But anyways, this is a multi-band antenna. So this is VHF 136 174, UHF 420 to 470, I think it is, or maybe even 500. Then it covers 700 and 800 because this is a multi-band portable radio. Why do I say that? Well, because when you're talking about antennas, if you break this antenna on there and everything like that, right? What's going to go ahead and happen is if you break it, it may be functionally fine for some bands, but not for all the other bands. In addition, we've gone to SMA connectors. I don't know if I can zoom in on there. Anybody knows what an SMA is on there? Huh? Well, let's try to back it up there. Anyways, SMA. This is an SMA female. On the radio is an SMA male. So it's got the little pin in there. Little pin in there, if you can kind of see it in there. Okay? So what happens in that case is the antenna cracked? Is the antenna break? You know, that kind of thing like that on there. So you really, really want to make sure that these are good shape, good condition. Because if they're not, you might as well just forget it. You're going to burn your radio out. You're going to cause problems on there. Batteries, 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 batteries. What I always tell people is that if you are going to use your radio for like MCOM purposes or stuff like that, charge them up if you want to. That's fine. But then do this, folks. Take my fat fingers here. Take the battery, set it off to the side. Leave your radio with the battery off, okay? Because some radios are soft power on and off, and they are going to go ahead and wear down. Now, this is an actual toggle on, okay? Toggle off, alrighty? Same thing with my other radio here. My new favorite DMR series, Sun, second to the Kenwood. I like them radios here, okay? Toggle on and toggle off, okay? On there. However, certain things are actually soft power on and off. So in here, this is the Uniden SDS 100. If I push and hold it, then I'm powering on the radio. See, I pushed and I held that button. When a soft power off happens, guess what ends up happening? That actually goes along and takes voltage or requires voltage to go to that switch. So if you charge this battery up and you leave it charged and you sit it down, you may come back a week or two later if you're not using it, and the battery is going to be completely dead. Why is the battery completely dead? Because there's always milliamps going to there. So what I do is if I know I'm not going to use my scanner for a while, take the battery out and I'll go ahead and set it in there. Okay? Then I leave it out like that. People are like, well, then what if you need to use it? Well, if I need to use it, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the battery back in and we're going to be good to go on there. And I've had people say, well, what if you needed an emergency? Well, if I needed an emergency or think I'm going to need an emergency, one, I'm going to have the battery in there. And two, I'm going to have secondary power available for that radio device. So antennas, belt clips, batteries. Those are like your belts, brakes, and your hoses. Let's go ahead and start to dig into it. What is exactly the oil change? So people have always asked me in my thing, what is the oil change? The oil change, believe it or not, is kind of a twofold thing. The oil change is going to come to make sure, A, your firmware is up to date. I cannot stress firmware, like Lewis Black. I cannot stress the firmware, right? I can't stress firmware either. Firmware comes out with different manufacturers at different times for different purposes. Alrighty? Some are religious, like bam, 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 okay? We need the firmware, we need the firmware, we need the firmware, we need the firmware. Great, that's fine. They are going to say every March we come out with firmware, every June we come out, whatever the case may be. Others, which is sort of the majority of firmware out there, is based on accumulation of things that they fix, okay? Example, once again, going back to my VP8000, okay? Love this public safety radio. E.F. Johnson Kenwood, however you want to call him this week. It says Kenwood outside, but it's got E.F. Johnson guts. Kind of like that old Saturday Night Live skit with Tom Hanks, you know, Sony guts, right? And if people get that joke, you went up a notch in my book. But the firmware updates comes up for things that you need to do. So for example, when this radio was released, you were able to use it, P25, phase 1 trunking, phase 2 trunking, conventional, analog, digital, whatever, right? But to make it multi-mode, they had to release a firmware. When you release that firmware, you had to update programming software, okay? So you got an update to the programming software, but then you got the firmware update to be able to do it. Now, it wasn't just necessarily a feature update. It also had some things that improved on there, okay? Operational factors, this kind of things like this. And that's important to understand, people, because here's what it is. There's going to be times where you're going to come into something and you're going to have a situation where the radio may be working fine for you. You may think that the firmware update is not needed, but in actuality, the firmware is needed because it can help improve things. These designers, these engineers cannot realistically go through every single thing that's out there, because guess what? No two radio systems are the same. If you think they are, you're smoking the crack, not the cigars. Okay, it's not there. So, a couple things to keep in mind in regards to those. Lots of times, if you go ahead and you take a look at the first DMR radios that ever came out, I will tell you what, it's night and day difference, okay? Even with just the firmwares. Like, for an example, if you look at, like, the XPR 6500 series that came out, or you look at, even Sun, they've had a couple firmware revisions on here. It improves it. The codecs, the vocoders become improved, functionality becomes improved, features become improved, all those kind of things like that on there. That is, in essence, the difference in the firmware is like the oil change. You need to update it. Now, caution on firmware. After I stressed all that stuff on there, caution on firmware. Be very, very careful to keep in the back of your mind that some firmware needs to be stepped increased, and some firmware can go from last oldest to the current most recent. That is manufacturer specific. Alrighty? Sometimes people will get behind 2 or 3 revisions of a firmware, and then they'll be like, oh, okay, well, shoot, I need to, well, I'm just going to update it. And they go right from the old to the new. Some radios can take it like a champ. Other radios will be like, no. We at least have to do update this first and then go to this. And I'm not saying that this is the case with this radio here. But what I am saying is that it does happen with some of the radios that are out there. So what do I recommend? Fall time's coming around. September is a good month to do this. Like, people go out and say, like, when should you check the batteries in your smoke detectors and everything? And they say at the daylight savings hour change. Okay, good idea. I say think of September and think of March. And why September? Good question. September, because September is National Preparedness Month. And what better way to go ahead and be prepared than to go ahead and saying, okay, how are my antennas? How's my battery? How's my whatever? Sometimes if you really bang things up, you may need a new screen. And if you need a new screen, not protector, but maybe a screen on there. Alrighty. And so there's lots of things that you may need to refresh on the radio. The other thing also too is, let's be honest with you, when we are out, springtime, summertime, and even as it starts at the fall time, you're out and about, you're more active, you're doing more things, you're going to have your radio on your hip more, you're going to have this. I cannot tell you how many, and I carry my radio on my left side, so it's not that bad, because if I'm in the squad or I'm driving the ambulance or whatever the case may be, if I'm in that driver's side, there's just a belt that comes across and the belt that comes here. But if I'm on the passenger side, what's down there? Clang, clang, clang. I'm always hitting that seatbelt. So I also too look at the conditions of my belt holsters. Yes, I have a firefighter strap, Boston leather harness that we wear there sometimes. I actually have a Kydex holster kind of thing on there. Very heavy duty. I like it because when I slide it in, it basically covers, like, the whole radio slides into here. So you got the top part of the speaker and you got the display here. And that's why this thing doesn't look like it's beat to hell, because I have wearing a holster. Other ones, not going to really wear a holster. I don't have a belt clip on this one because I usually grab this or I throw it like in my vest or something like that on there. So my biggest thing I got to be careful about is when I'm throwing it into the pockets. I got to be really careful, because if there's something in my pocket I'm not aware of, when I slide this in, I can crack or scratch the screen. Plus also too, bending the antenna, right? That's once again where we come into the protection of the antennas. The other thing about it too is I always go ahead and see, like, what kind of antenna am I using. So yeah, I got one of these little, I call them pig on a lipsticks. Why do I call it pig on a lipstick? Because this is a hammy antenna. Okay, I'm not gonna hide or deny this. Yeah, not too bad, not too fine. Not too bad quality. It's. I mean, I don't even know if I can actually do it on the whole screen here. But here, I'll back up. There you go. It's a pretty long antenna. I really don't use these for transmitting, to be honest with you. I am more apt to saying, if you need some good transmit power and ability, I will always go ahead and saying, buy a band cut antenna as compared to going ahead and just getting a high gain, maybe wide cut antenna. This antenna, for an example, it runs off my business system, JJK system, I should say. This is specifically cut for 450 to 460. I only need 20 megahertz on this one, because most of the stuff I'm using is upper 450s when I transmit into it, or upper 460s on there. So like 465, 466, 7, 8, 9, that kind of thing. So this is a nice cut. Do I have other antennas that would work? Yes. Now, when you come into multi-band portables, that's where it gets a little more difficult, because if you do need a multi-band portable, this thing is going to be huge and it's going to be wide cut. But if I know it's a day that I'm not actually going ahead and going to be doing 800 stuff, I will actually go ahead and unscrew the antenna. And I have actually a specific dual band VHF UHF. So dual band, like 150 to about 169 cut for VHF, and then a 450 to about 470 cut on there that'll do it. Will reduce the height, so it's only about this tall, but it's more frequency cut. And obviously, the more in the frequency range antenna you're going to get, one, the smaller the antenna can get, but two, I usually see better performance on that frequency specific antenna as compared to having a wide band or wide cut on there. So that's kind of what it is on there. Now, some of the other things that I always like to do and really kind of get working in regards to this time is I always like to update my code plugs, my frequencies, and everything like that on there. Reason being is because if I need to make changes or something like that on there, this is a good time to start. And I say it's a good time to start because if you're not going to be doing much activities, you're not going to be doing a lot of things out there, maybe you can spend nights, on any night besides Monday night when you're watching me here, you'll be able to go ahead and you'll be able to sit down and like work on that. One of the things I do recommend about being prepared is to come up with an ICS form. So I use an ICS 205 form, 215 kind of forms on there. And I have all of those forms available to me. And the reason I do it is because I have them marked in 16 channels. It allows me to, and I'll do another episode. If you actually look back, we did an episode talking about making one, and I'll probably do a refresh, episode on it. But what ends up happening is that I can really take a look. So I could see what zone I'm in. I could see what channel number in that zone I'm in. I could go ahead and see the name of the zone if I want to, so you can name your zone. Then I could put the channel name on there. I could show the receive frequency, and then I could show either the receive PL or DPL, or if it's a NAC for P25, I could put the NAC in there. If it's a DMR, I could put the color code. If it's next in, I could put the RAN in there. The next one that's going to go ahead and be next to that, those two columns is going to be your transmit frequency. I like to do the layout, by the way, of receive, then transmit. That's me, and that's kind of how I learned. Some radios are weird. Some radios are weird and different. For example, programming the Kira Sun, when you look at the channel, the first row is your transmit, and then the second row is your receive on there. On some of them, I shouldn't say Kira Sun, but some of them. And you usually see that with more of like the foreign kind of stuff on there. E.F. Johnson Armada software kind of does the same thing. Transmit first, then the receive. Okay, fine. But when you get into other things like some of the Motorola radios, some of the other Kenwood radios, all those kind of things, it's receive then transmit. Biggest thing is to do fluid and to have that ability to know, okay, this is transmit, this is receive, what am I going to go and do? The final thing that I like to do about it and laying these out is now that we're in the infancy of multi-band radios. Well, let me put it this way. We're the toddler phases of multi-band radios, but we're in the infancy of multi-protocol radios. Now, I don't have my NX5000 series here, but I carry my NX5000 for my commercial and public safety stuff exclusively. Why? Because I can have one portable that could do P25 and DMR, or DMR and NextN, or NextN and P25, any two of the digital modes in there. They all do FM. FM is part of it, right? On there. But it really allows me to lay out. So what will tend to happen in that case is I will go and I will lay out and I do like some color coding on there. And the color coding thing usually goes ahead and helps me know. So like I have a certain color for FM or analog channels. I have a certain color for P25 channels. I have a certain color for, trying to think of all my colors, DMR, and then I have NextN, and then I have receive channels because I can put multi-mode receive, and I usually will leave them clear or available. That makes me be able to look through that list. Now, sometimes that helps out or not, but digressing back to the point, the fall time is when I could really start to sit down and go, you know what? Okay, yep, okay. No, in this zone I want this, and this zone I want this, or I want this channel number, these positions, and I want this mode, and I want this mode. So those are some of the things just to kind of put in the back of your head, the back of your mind, to say, you know what, that's not a bad idea on there. So, all right, I blabbered on. We've talked about it. And let's go ahead and go to that funny time of the episode. You know what really bends my antenna? You know what really bends my antenna? is that I didn't think of what I wanted to give for the third year, the second anniversary, the third year start of the Sooner. And I got to go ahead and say, I got to say thank you to Fourth and Birch. So for those of you that know me or have seen me, I will travel with a certain coffee cup. And the certain coffee cup has my little buddy on here. At the end, when he turns around and he has that on there, and it has a little thing that says, you know, it really bends my antenna. And people get a kick out of it. And the other side of the mug says, did you read the manual? And on the bottom, there's a little quick message for people who didn't read the manual. Or maybe, oh, no, I didn't see the manual. Well, okay. But anyways, what I decided to do was that through some marketing and talking and stuff like that, we are going to give away some of these elusive, you know what really bends my antenna keychains. That's right. The official Bends My Antenna keychain, officially seen here on Communications and Cigars. That's right. So that's the big announcement. What we're going to do. A lot of people maybe are not thinking, who cares? But yes, we are going to go ahead and give away for our live episode. So our live episode is going to be in 2 weeks from now, right? Not Labor Day, because Labor Day is going to go ahead and we're going to take the time off. We're not going to do that. So let me go ahead and pull up here, because I'll be honest with you, the summer has flown by so quick. So what we're going to do is it's going to be on September 11th. That's right, September 11th. We're going to do an episode here. We're going to have it that we go ahead and give away a Communications and Cigars keychain on there. And we'll have some winners, and we'll have to do that on there and everything like that on there. But yes, you will have the chance to win your official Communications and Cigars. You know, it really bends my antenna on there. That's right. And you know what? This was also copied also. I saw someone else who was like trying to copy this. Like, no, don't copy. This is mine. This is my deal. So there you go. You know, it really bends my antenna. Or, well, actually, let me put it the right way here. Once again, you know, it really bends my antenna. And then that way, you come up, you see me at an event, you win it. You're like, hey, I'm part of the club there. So you know, it really bends my antenna. I love that little dude. I really do. So that's what's going to happen. We're going to be coming up in 2 weeks, September 11th. We'll have it in there. We'll get the staff in there. And that's what we're going to do. So that's the big announcement coming in here. So I do hope everybody's been good and safe and taking care of one another, because that's really what we like to see on there. I know a lot of people are involved in public safety. I know a lot of people are involved in different activities that maybe help public safety, support public safety. I will tell you this, Communications and Cigars, JJK Communications, we are very pro public safety on there. We do like to help people out the best that we can. We do thank everybody that is involved in public safety. And more so, if you're not involved in public safety, that's fine. We do care about you too. We hope that you're doing good. If you do have anybody in care for, or that is involved in public safety, don't ever be afraid to say hi. Don't ever be afraid to stop and talk. One of the biggest things, I will tell you this, is that sometimes we get that macho feeling, that blinder feeling, where we can't really talk about it. We don't really want to talk about it because it's taboo to talk about it. And let me tell you something. The world some days is a very unfriendly place, and they're there. So with that being said, I want everybody to take care. I want everybody to stay safe. Thank you for tuning into the channel. I'm sorry it was spur of the moment. A couple other people in there. Lon, of course, I saw you in there. John, Derby, hello. Evan, howdy, buddy. Good to see that you're back on there. Thank you for tuning in, popping into the chat. For those that were not into the chat but did stop by, thank you so much for going ahead and doing there. Hey, Andolph, how you doing there over there? Chuck, good evening. I know you're late, but catch up on the replay, and you'll see all that kind of thing on here. If you didn't see it, you get a chance here. That's right. 2 weeks from now, our prize for our third anniversary is going to be your official Communications and Cigars. You know, it really bends my antenna guy on there. Yes. So right there. So I have one. I saw it. It was given to me, and I said, you know what? I said, I love this. I love this. So with that, once again, stay safe, everybody. Take care of yourself. Take care of everybody else that you can. If you have a cigar, sit back and enjoy it. And if you don't smoke cigars, enjoy it. Nice time of the season. I love fall, because you can sit out there and you're not sweating your brains out, and you can enjoy a nice, peaceful evening. So until then, everybody, take care.